Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of POV with Dom. My name is Dom, I'm your host today. I'm always your host, it's my podcast show, but you might be thinking, Dom, you sound like you got a cold coming on, you sound a bit rough. Well, I've had a bit of a cry today. Today's episode was going to be me going through the internet and the history of funny memes and the originators of Stan Twitter, a very, very video essay core episode, but no. I was in the coffee shop and 3 songs in a row. I've still got a tear in my eye. 3 songs in a row with my breakup / really sad music that I only listen to when I'm crying my eyes out or journaling very deep. And I just was like, nope, it's coming up. Christ, come in. Gotta get home quick. So ran home. I've had a cry for about an hour and I journaled. For the first time this year properly, pages upon pages of me writing how I truly feel. And oh my God, was that cathartic and needed. And then I went onto TikTok for a little scroll, which I know is not good for you because, you know, the amount of dopamine rushes and stuff you have on there is crazy. And also it's chronic. It's bad. But I was greeted by lovely, lovely Hopecore videos. So I thought, do you want to know what? That's the universe saying, Dom, you know what you need to do? Use your platform and tell everyone that you cried because Mercury retrograde's beating your ass, but also promote Hopecore. So if you don't know what Hopecore is an aesthetic and philosophy based on hope and humanity. It focuses on the human condition and the special everyday interactions with nature, other humans, and even inanimate objects. Hopecore is not necessarily religious, but it definitely is spiritual and commonly accompanied by a strong sense of sonder. Hopecore reminds us that life is beautiful and fragile. Now, Hopecore slideshows have recently come about on TikTok thanks to the photo feature. And when I went through my breakup last year, which coincidentally, the Snapchat, you know, on Snapchat it goes like a year ago today, and often it's a really funny memory with a mate. My year ago today for the past week have been selfies of me crying my eyes out in bed. Hair still looks exactly the same. Maybe I need to change it up a bit. Actually, I kind of got a mini mullet. Besides the point, I'm crying a year ago today and I'm like, oh, no wonder I feel so sad. Maybe it's an anniversary effect, or the fact that I've got a 2-day hangover because on Saturday night I went out and did the most drinking I've ever done in my life. Would not recommend. The hangover's not worth it, and also the come down is definitely not worth it either. But yeah, Hopecore, I saved loads of photos that I want to go through with you, and especially if you're on the YouTube viewing, I can only apologise about last week's video as well. I'm aware there was no video. My hard drive clocked out. She just gave up on her shift. Okay, take it up with Phillips. Before I get into these slideshows though, I feel it's important that I open up to you guys. Now, I am quite private on, that's a bullshit lie. I am so open online. I posted a 5-month documentary about my heartbreak last year. So yeah, but I try and keep the door somewhat ajar with what I tell you guys, because obviously I don't want it to be all doom and gloom. I am quite an optimistic character. I'm quite open and out there. I quite like to be positive online. But yeah, sometimes you just get overwhelmed and exhausted and need to fucking cry and let it out. And I know that sounds so basic and it's all this sort of gibberish you hear online, like it gets better and all this sort of stuff. But I don't know if it's any consolation for those that feel bad about being sad, or for those that think it's wrong to be sad or whatever, it is completely fine. Like, I can't tell if this is just usual drone nonsense stuck on a Primark t-shirt. Like, life gets better. I don't know. It sounds so wishy-washy, but what I'm trying to say is just like, there's no essence of being powerless if you are sad, right? And it's okay to fucking cry your eyes out, stick on some Phoebe Bridgers and just journal to your heart's content. Yeah, I sound like a broken record with that, but I just wanted to give that as a little disclaimer before we hop into today's video. But yeah, the reason I was sad, as I said, I was in the coffee shop, songs came on, took me back to last year, and I was like, whoa, I've got some unprocessed shit to deal with. I think that's where I'm going at with that message, actually, is that if you feel like shit out of the blue when you think you're fine, that's it. That's what I was trying to get at. If you feel like shit when you think everything's fine and you're like, oh no, life's going really well for me, like I'm doing my gratitude every day, I'm on a good vibration, some days you're going to feel like shit. It's natural. And the positive from that, don't comment, Dom, you're such a toxic positive character. No, but there's always a positive to something, right? The positive to this is that now that I've been sad, now that I've had the sadness out of me and I've processed it and I've been aware that it's there, I haven't tried to force it away, I've actually, processed and felt the emotions. It shows that there's like a balance with life, that if it was good all the time, it'd be boring. Think of it like this. The song, I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day, right? When I was younger, I was like, oh my God, I want it to be Christmas every single fucking day. But then now that I'm an adult, if you deep it, Christmas every single day, same food, You'd run out of things to get. It'd be boring. You'd eventually get bored of Christmas, right? That's the thing with good and bad. They like balance each other out. What I'm trying to say is though, there's no positive without a negative, and they both balance with each other, and it makes you grateful for the good days, and sad days are all for growth. There's like, it works. So today I'm treating it as a day like where I'm just under a bit of construction. My software engineers are just updating me. Or sorry, in 2024 terms, the writers of my show are just giving me some character development. A little bit of a cry scene. Should we go through the songs that I've cried to in the past hour? Oh my God, ready? Oh my God, I've listened to loads of shit. Okay, so we have Nothing New by Taylor Swift. Welcome to My Island by Caroline Polachek. Before you judge me, I know it's a very happy song, very island sort of vibes. It just makes me sad. Come Back, Be Here, Taylor Swift. My Love, All Mine by Mitski. Called You Again by Lizzie McAlpine. Sparks, Coldplay. Cry, Cigarettes After Sex. Rainbow by Dodie. Apocalypse by Cigarettes After Sex. Last Kiss by Taylor Swift. Don't You by Taylor Swift. About You, the 1975. Death by a Thousand Cuts by Taylor Swift. Most recently, I'm Not a Mountain by Sarah Kinsley, and currently halfway through Pick Up Off the Floor by Mika. So quite a sad hour that I've been listening to. But do you want to know what? I love my playlist. I have it on Apple Music. If you have it, add me up. Just search up Dominic Lawrence and look through my playlist. It's public. It's called like Gut Wrenching. What is it called? My sad playlist is called Gut Wrenching, Awful, Harrowing, Heart-Stabbing Sob Songs. And the picture is a picture of me crying last year mid-heartbreak while I'm on the toilet, and it says, "This is the saddest piss I've ever had." So that's food for thought. If you want any good sad songs, go through this playlist. Anyways, Hopecore, taking TikTok by storm. A lot of you are either getting the really, really sad slideshows of, you know, heartbreak, which I was getting at the start of my heartbreak last year. And then I swiftly somehow moved on to Hopecore, which is just fantastic. It really, really boosts my mood and like gives me hope for life. It's in the name, Hopecore. A lot of these are Tumblr posts as well, and a lot of them are quotes from, you know, Sylvia Plath or people like Albert Camus. Absurd creation. And there's a load of things here that are so fruitful. It's good to reflect on them. And I also saw a slideshow of instead of thinking blank, think of this blank. So for example, instead of thinking brackets, I wish they wanted me, you could think, I choose people that choose me back. And it's like, cool, shit like that. I feel so unwanted. Actually, am I in the right place? They'll think I'm making excuses. I will say what I need to regardless of their perception. My life is terrible. My thoughts shape my life and I choose to think positively. Why are they like that? I can't control others' actions. I can only control my reaction to them. I'm not having a good day. Not every day is going to be great, but I'll do one small thing to make it better. And do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and have some work done with my bestie Kate at the coffee shop after this podcast episode is filmed. That's what I'm looking forward to. Instead of thinking I'm a disappointment to everyone, think satisfying others' vision of my life is not my responsibility. You ain't got to show yourself to anyone. That's one thing I've had to learn brutally recently, is that like you don't need to have all glitz and glam and show your life off as if it's like amazing to other people. As long as you yourself are grateful for your life, that's all that matters. You don't need to be the most famous, rich and successful person in the world for life to be amazing for you, you know? Instead of thinking I'm not moving fast enough, think slow growth is still growth. I'll get there as I keep going. This is a great post. Instead of thinking I'm not knowledgeable, think knowledge is limitless and I am a lifelong learner. Instead of thinking I didn't do enough today, think all days are not the same. I did what I could and that's enough. And then it ends with just live and do it anyways. Nice little graphic of some dandelions. Are they called dandelions? What are they called? I think they're called dandelions, the ones that you blow. Anyways, we're now onto the Tumblr post. The Tumblr quotes of Hopecore are either really, really, really cringe. Actually, that's me being rude. Cringe, I was told once by someone that cringe is only invented to dampen others' spark, which upon reflection just makes cringe have more of a meaning. Anyways, Tumblr posts. They're either Dan and Phil fan fictions, as I've read on there, or they are the most life-changing pieces of information you'll ever read. I've got some compiled here that I'm going to read to you. Someone says, at the end of the day, you can either focus on what's tearing you apart or what's keeping you together. And someone replied saying, feel, accept, adapt, let go. And I feel like me reading this out to you with no music in the background does lessen the power of the slideshow. This was accompanied by Flawed Mangoes. This was played by the beginning by Flawed Mangoes. If you listen to the beginning by Flawed Mangoes and read a slideshow, your life will change. There's something in that song that he's put in. It's fantastic. This is a quote from Albert Camus. There's so much stubborn hope in the human heart. And I read this and I was like, oh my God, that's adorable. Because it's so true. All of us have hope, regardless of who you are. You have hope that, you know, your favorite Corrie character will survive this week's tram crash. You have so much hope that the next album that comes up from your favorite artist is going to be amazing. We all have hope in some way or another. This one made me tear up. Forgiving yourself constantly and generously, so frequently that it becomes habit, is a great form of healing. Most of what you punish yourself for is wasted potential that exists in an abstract and invisible place only you can see. I can't comment on that because I think they've said everything that I needed to say. I hope the light in your eyes is restored and you have reasons to love life and want to actively be part of it again. I hope one day you wake up and life doesn't feel heavy, strange or difficult to participate in and you are able to breathe again. Thank you so much, Simi, the author of this post. What an absolute legend. Oh my God, this one, I don't know why, but it hits me. To love life, to love it even when you have no stomach for it. For me, that is like beautiful. A beautiful way of putting things. This one's a quote from Ruth Awad. My God, will I ever not be surprised by what I can survive? This is so beautiful. Like, this is all humans coming together to share that they've all been through the worst pain that life throws at them, and they still come out the other side with hope, with love, because it's the strongest emotion. This is a quote from Fyodor Dostoevsky, and they say, I see the sun, and if I don't see the sun, I know it's there. And there's a whole life in that, in knowing that the sun is there. Like, today it's cloudy and the blue sky is peeking through somewhat, but the sun is always there. Like, this is making me feel so good reading all of these. Oh, this is from someone called Spider-Verse GF, Spider-Verse girlfriend. Still, after all of it, mostly, I want to be kind. And I think that's something that I really resonate with, because sometimes I know that I'm not kind, unkind. I feel like everyone in their life has been unkind at one point, but one thing that we shouldn't do is shame ourselves for that and bring ourselves down even further and be like, oh, I was such a dick then. Like, everything's about growth, you know? And I feel like if people can't move past that or move on or allow growth to take place, then it's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? This is one from a Tumblr user called Podenkos. I used to think life would never treat me well, and now I'm like, life is good and bad and hurtful and loving and kind and uncaring and thoughtless and discerning and bountiful and unforgiving and cruel, and holds its arms wide open waiting for me to either lean in or let go, and I get to do that over and over and over again. Oh, we've got some Charlotte Bronte from Jane Eyre. Oh, that gentleness, how far more potent is it than force? For centuries, we have preferred love and care and respect and anything more than that than haste and force and hurt. This next quote from someone called Marina, and I do not want to butcher that last name. My whole life is a romance with my own soul. And that is one quote I want to live by. I want to sort of rebuild the narrative of myself because, okay, we're going to get really deep here. I want to live a life of independence, but not entirely independent. Does that make sense? One thing that I'm going to aim for, and I know I'm a big believer in evil eye. You shouldn't give your plans to people you don't know. There could be a hater listening to this being like, right, well, I'm going to hex that from happening. But I know, and I know I have the strength to counteract any sort of negativity that might come back from this. But I know that in my life, one of my biggest goals is to be content with being independent and being loved by myself and prioritizing that over others. I feel like I'm on that journey at the moment and it is painful, and that's why I have days like this where I'm crying my eyes out to Taylor Swift at 11 a.m. and like I just want people to know that there's no selfishness in sort of putting yourself first, but also don't be so selfish that you cut off everyone around you. I feel like it's like a sort of, what's it called, a bird trying to fly, right? I can't fully immerse myself and fly smoothly. At the moment, it's a bumpy takeoff. And in this process of doing this sort of selfishness, which I put in quotation marks because it's not, it's just, it's normal behavior, you know? Like this quote, which says, my whole life is a romance with my own soul. I'm falling in love with myself. And if that means that I have to sort of distance myself or not come to an event or leave or do something for my own well-being, as long as it's not to the detriment of other people and is an actual dick move, then what's wrong with that? You know, I'm celebrating myself and being within my own boundaries, but I'm still working on that. I'm still doing that. And sometimes I do it and I hurt people, and sometimes I do it and I don't. Sometimes people have done it to me and it's hurt me. It's like each and every single day is a learning lesson, right? And with these lessons, I'm going to keep learning more and more and more about the universe. I'm 21. I have so much more to learn and to grieve and to love and to move on with. But going back to it, my whole life is a romance with my own soul is the quote that I'm going to try and live by. Like the main love story of my life is with myself. And right now, that does feel like a half truth. It doesn't feel like it's 100% truth, but I hope I can look back in a year's time, 2 years' time, 5 years' time and think, holy fucking shit, I've made it. I think of myself and only myself first before anybody else. While I could be in a relationship and I will absolutely cherish that with everything I have, because I have so much love to give other people, I know that the love that I do have to give other people needs to be redirected to myself, as ultimately I am the priority in every situation. Incoming comment from someone called Sandra, who says, "You're a Leo bastard." Well, actually, Sandra, I'm a Leo moon, but hey, I'll allow it. I love Leos. This next quote from Gwendoline Christie says, "I want to be good and do good and be nice to people and make people happy and have good and healthy relationships with people. I want to learn to forgive and I want to understand other people. I want to be loved and adored and I want to love and adore." And I think there's something so special about this as well. It's like an innocence sort of thing. And I know that I've certainly not been innocent my whole life. I've definitely jumped the gun and burnt bridges way too early, and have led with anger, or rather my emotions first than actual hypothetical thinking with love. Because at the end of the day, I think I discussed this in my confidence video, or even in my podcast episode about vibrational states. We all have a vibrational state that we're on, right? And I think love and acceptance is so high up there, and it's a hard energy to channel. It is. You can't just wake up one day and be like, I'm going to be the most amazing, kindest person in the universe. It takes some training to do that. And this quote from Gwendoline Christie is it's very cute. This is from Herman Hesse. "I'm not a stable person, and often I encounter great difficulties in life, which often seems quite unbearable. There's nothing I can do about that, but I love the world and life itself, and even when in pain, I still have the pleasure of feeling part of a cosmic movement." I think that's everyone's life story, I think that's everyone's life story. That life will throw shit at you and it will be horrible, and adolescence is not easy and people are unkind and you just want to fucking hide under your duvet forevermore. But if you just accept that life is happening and transformation is always happening too, and just adapt and grow and just be, like, just accept and move forward. And I think that's something that I've definitely learned this year, especially with relationships. There's so many relationships this year that I have like sort of resented over and felt angry over because of how they've ended, and I haven't just accepted and let it be until recently, where I've saw these quotes and I was like, damn, I'm putting so much pressure and anger and energy on myself that I don't need for holding these grudges, where it's probably just a one-sided grudge at this point. They've moved on. Stop trying to save this relationship. It's gone. If it's meant to happen, it will. Accept that. Move on. That also does apply to multiple other situations, but for me, it was mainly relationships. I'm getting so deep and personal with you guys today. Holy shit. I'd say the best thing I've learned this year is to just let people be who they naturally are. No psychoanalyzing them. No overthinking my actions. No asking what I could possibly do to keep their presence in my life. I just bring my best self to the table and always move from a place of love and respect. How that person responds is ultimately up to them. If that causes them to exit my life, I just let it happen. I will never be in the business of changing people. People are only ever ready to change when they've made the conscious decision to. All I can do is check myself and be kind always. That's from Stuck in April. There have been many a times where I've been not the best version of myself, even recently. Because again, I feel like while that is definitely true, and this quote I'm going to try and live by, it's a blueprint. And we are not going to follow that 100%. We're going to fuck up at times. We're going to mess up. We're going to hurt people and we're going to be hurt. And we can't do anything about that. Because life gives us lessons. And if we don't learn from them, we repeat them until we do. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. But you guys, hopefully you get where I'm coming from with that. This person has learned that this year through many lessons. As they've started the quote with, I'd say the best thing that I've learned this year is to just let people be who they naturally are. One thing about me is that I'm quite controlling with the relationships that I have. I try to make people the version of them I have in my head, which is damaging because it doesn't align with the expectations. Therefore, I feel hurt because the expectation that I had of this person doesn't add up to who they are in real life, which in turn battles a lot of relationships and even friendships, connections, self-love, everything. Expectations do ruin a lot of shit. So again, I'm bringing up the argument of just be, which is something I'm still learning to do as well. We're all in it together, guys. We're all in our just be era. One thing that I want you guys to learn from this podcast episode is I've started this episode off like just finished a horrible cry, but I'm okay with that. I'm going to just exist and just be. I'm now going to read some more of my favorite Hopecore moments that I've saved from TikTok. There's a picture of a jelly cat in a bowl of water being washed, like a childhood toy. And the text over it says, I forgive myself for everything I've done to me. Oh my God, this post, I remember reading this last year and actually starting to cry. I think because when we're in such emotional states, we rely on this emotional stuff more. But when I'm in a perfectly normal, like happy vibrational state, I'm like, cool, like I don't really need this. I'm quite dismissive to the Hopecore stuff, but now that I'm all emotional and mushy, I can read it without, pulling a face and being a judgmental Scorpio. But this one's from Robin. They say, it gets better, I think. Maybe just for a day, maybe just for a song, but there's something there to hold on to. This one's from One Trum, and they say, pioneering something called gritted teeth optimism, where everything is going to turn out okay, even if I have to bite and claw and gnash my way through it. Something that I'm doing. I actually need to get my teeth checked because I have grind my teeth so much. It's always pictures of sheep in a field, and it says, life has been cruel, but I will be kind. Like, it melts my heart, man. I am a half full jar of honey on a sunlit kitchen shelf. Listen, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Hopecore is for those that get it. If you want to sit and laugh, be my guest. But me and the girlies, we're all, some of us are strawberry jam, blueberry jam, raspberry jam, or honey. And that is beautiful. And I do love that a lot. I really, really do love that a lot. Someone on Reddit says, you can bring one person back from the dead, no strings attached. Who would you choose? Someone replies saying, that's a tough one. My mum and dad both passed away in the last 2 years. I don't know who I'd choose between them. Someone then replied saying, I'd bring back your mum so you can bring back your dad. Like, the kindness of strangers is something that I think oh my God, this reminds me, now I'm going to cry. Fuck. I was on a walk the other day and I was feeling just pretty neutral. And I walked past this woman and just smiled at her. And she smiled back. And then we kind of looped around again because she was going one way and I was going the other. We looped around again and she was talking to me about my AirPods were in. And I took them out and she was just like, can I just say your smile made my day? Whew. And I just said, like that, thank you so much. And she goes, you got a beautiful smile. And it made me feel so confident and so like loved for a second. And I didn't even know her, never met her before. And she just said that my little 2-second like smile just made her day. And then I bumped into her a few days later at the same park at a completely different time, and she was leaving as I walked in and she just said hi, and I said hi, have a nice day, and she goes, you too, darling. And it was just like, I love that. I love those spiritual sort of connections where you meet someone for like a brisk second and they can just shape your day, even a moment better. It's magic. It really, really is. And I think that just made me so happy inside that like the version of me when I used to live back in Norfolk, when I'd smile at every stranger I'd pass. Like in Norfolk, everyone's chatty. They even stop and chat to you. Whereas in London, you smile at someone, they just don't really give a shit. Sometimes they smile back, but most of the time they're just too focused on making the tube on time or something. And just to have that little moment with someone was really, really sweet. And it made me feel just like worthy and appreciated, and that like it just felt right, it was just like that perfect slice of pie or that beautiful delicious roast dinner you have on a Sunday that just hits the spot. It's just one of those moments in like life's simple pleasures that come about so often. You could almost call them miracles. I really think you could call them miracles. Here's another beautiful quote. I think there's something so beautiful about postcards and how they say that, yes, I was in this beautiful place, but I still couldn't stop thinking about you. Oh, that makes me so grateful for the postcards that I've gotten. Oh my God, I'm going to go through my drawer and read all of these after. So a little exercise we're going to do now is, this quote is quite beautiful. I'm going to read half of it out to you and I want you to do what it says, and then I'm going to finish it off. So this one says, and if I asked you to name all the things that you love, feel free to do that in your head. What do you love? Who do you love? Why do you love them? This quote ends with, how long would it take for you to name yourself? I feel so much better from filming this podcast episode when, to begin with, I was literally crying my eyes out listening to Last Kiss by Taylor Swift. What a moment. Sadly, I was meant to have a guest episode for this week, but again, I can't upload that for personal reasons. So I have actually had to kind of churn this episode out. This episode is literally releasing in like 9 hours. So if you're listening right at midnight, thank you. If you're listening whenever, thank you. And around the world, Truly, thank you. I do appreciate you listening to this. This has been quite an open and honest and beautiful episode, and I hope it does make a lot of sense. But to conclude, you're all beautiful. You are all okay. It's okay to feel like shit, even if you feel fine, usually. It's okay to feel like shit if you always feel like shit. Good days are coming, but appreciate the bad ones because they make you feel good about the good ones. That makes sense, hopefully. Am I waffling too much? Probably. I'm going to go. All right. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. Love you all so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.